Welcome.
Nice. Good job.
Let's see. Okay, they're coming. They're coming.
Where are you, Franco?
I'm in Miami Beach.
Oh, I'm in Sarasota.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Just started the afternoon thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah. That's that time of year.
Lightning,
Mark,
thunder.
Soren. Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
So to start it off, I want to say I've taken the last 2 days to purposefully avoid tutorials on TiddlyWiki. And the idea being that I want to see it with new eyes. I want to see it with the eyes of somebody who has zero experience, so I can ask those kinds of questions. And hopefully that will make it useful for people who also have new eyes. Because once you get into it a little bit, you ask different questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I will defer to you guys, Soren and Mark, because you guys have more experience. But I was thinking that maybe it would be a good try to get TiddlyWiki, let's say, set up, make a note, and maybe set up some sort of storage. But I have no idea whether that's an ambitious goal or not. And I'm also, of course, open to Anthony if Anthony has any particular things you'd like to learn, Anthony, ahead of time.
No, I'm just enjoying watching everything, and I'll have plenty of comments. I've got a little template that I've been using that somebody threw up someplace, okay, and just locally storing it on my desktop and updating it. And I haven't gotten into customizing it yet, but I have some ideas on some things I'd like to be able to do, and really that's about it. I'm enjoying, first of all, the template I have. I really like the UI, and then the second thing is a few of the things that they were doing on it. I like it, which is just kind of like creating a new day and segregating the various types of tasks that I do and keeping notes that I keep. And now I'm thinking, oh, I'd like to have a link to start my list of books I've got to read and the movies I want to watch and blah, 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 and yada, da, and other work-related things and projects that I've got going on at work where I'd like to organize things. I'd like to get it off of Workflowy, and I'd like to pull it out of this app, and I'd like to get everything in one place. So I'm going to absorb anything you throw out there, and I'll give feedback to anything you do.
Okay, and then to Mark and Soren, did that goal seem like something reasonable in a manageable amount of time for you guys?
In terms of getting it initially set up, definitely, yeah. Can we create 15 different lists? Like, probably not, but we can go over how to do some of that stuff certainly in that amount of time.
All right, great. And then
let me just jump into at this point.
Yes.
I am not an expert in TiddlyWiki at all, so I am just as much of a novice, I think, as two of the three of us are.
Okay.
I should say 3 of the 4 of us are. And so Soren is the expert here.
Okay.
And so please defer to him when it comes to questions of that nature.
No worries. And then the only other thing I was going to say maybe before we get started is that I have a goal of using it as a sort of general knowledge base where I can keep the things that I'm working on, mostly notes about different topics and things that I'd like to get to, things that I'd like to review on a regular basis.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me too.
So I guess I can maybe share my screen, and you guys want to guide me through some of the steps. Okay, let's do that. Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So
we're on TiddlyWiki.com.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can start with just downloading an empty TiddlyWiki. The other option is to find another edition that somebody has already prepared. But for this, we can start with the base installation since we're kind of going from there. So you just want to scroll down to getting started and hit your big download empty button.
When I first saw that, I was like, what's an empty? So do I call it TiddlyWiki or?
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want.
Okay, and I'll put it in.
So we're just downloading a single HTML file, which is going to contain your whole wiki.
Okay, that's downloaded, and I will now launch it. I'm assuming that's the next step, right? Launch that HTML.
Yeah.
So.
There we go.
And cool.
So you can go ahead and start out by filling out your title, subtitle, and give it something more enlightening than my TiddlyWiki, if you like.
Okay, how about Tiddly onboarding? And onboarding for TiddlyWiki.
So you can see that it just updates automatically. So this is kind of one of the big features of TiddlyWiki is it will automatically know anytime something changes within the wiki what needs to be refreshed and do it. It's kind of like a spreadsheet that way.
Got it.
When you're typing that title and subtitle, you're actually editing little tiddlers within the wiki. So just like your content is going to be stored in tiddlers, all of your configuration is also going to be stored in tiddlers. So it's kind of all one system, and we can mess with the system just by changing those without having to write any code.
Got it.
Hey, so when you use the term tiddler, could you kind of frame that up for a layperson?
Sure. So tiddler is kind of like an index card or a note. It's like a little unit of information. That's not a perfect metaphor because tiddlers can work in ways that paper can't. For instance, it can be used as a template to display another tiddler. But that's a good kind of starting working model.
Yep.
Okay, and a template is that similar conceptually to like an HTML template in a framework flavor of your choice?
I would say it is kind of like an HTML template like that. Yeah, you're basically storing some information about how to display another tiddler. And depending on what tiddler the template is being used to display, we'll fill in different data into it.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and save this too. So if you just click the check mark icon underneath your title. So right now we're just using the download saver. So this is going to just pop open and ask you to save the file again. And you can overwrite the existing one, or you can create a new one so that you have a backup of the existing one. And there are a lot of more convenient ways to save, but this is kind of the super basic one that comes right built into TiddlyWiki and doesn't require you to set anything up.
Got it. So the default is file system saving.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, and the downside to that is you need to select the location for it, or and you have to remember to click the button every time. So if you want to open the control panel, that is the gear icon underneath the title, and go to, I believe it is saving tab at the top. You'll see a few of the other options that are built into here. For instance, you can save to GitHub or to TiddlyHost just by filling in some information about your username and password in there. And then you can also have it auto save to those locations. We also have like Fission, that's new, but that's been set up now. And you can also launch a small server directly using Node.js, and then you can have a web server running on your computer that you can access through the browser. And there are a number of other saving options, and you can find all of those listed on the TiddlyWiki homepage if you want to hop back there for a second.
Sure. I actually have a Fission account. So would it be difficult to set up the Fission one? I'd be curious to try it.
I don't think so. I don't believe I've done it myself, but we can try it if you want to go out there.
Okay, why don't we save that for a little later, and that way we can go through the Tiddly stuff.
Sure.
That's of general interest, and then we'll get more specific later for people who want to hang in there.
Sounds good.
Okay, so go back to Tiddly. Okay.
Yeah, and if you scroll down a little bit, I believe a little bit further, not quite that far. Sorry, before community, Still within getting started, but at the bottom of it. So you can see there available methods for saving changes with TiddlyWiki. So if you take any operating system or browser limits that you want to have on there, you should see a list of options. And if you click on those, it'll give you more information about them. So this is how, if you're trying to find something that's easier than download saver, but you don't know what options might be good for you, you can look here.
Okay. I don't see a fission here.
It may still be considered in beta and not on there. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hey, Soren, have you run it on, what type of phone are you using, and have you used it on your phone?
I have an iPhone X. I have used Quine briefly. I personally run it on a machine on my local network with Node.js, so I can access it from any browser or computer, at least while I'm at home.
Yeah, okay.
But Quine is great if you're on iOS and you want to, I believe you can store it in Google Drive or something like that from there, if you want to have it in multiple locations, or if you just are mostly using it on your phone for organization.
Got it.
What is Quine?
It's an iPhone app. It's maybe a couple dollars that just hosts TiddlyWiki and allows it to save easily. I think if you check the iOS option, it should show up. You might have to uncheck Mac too if you don't want to require both. Yeah, there it is.
Now, so Quine, if you're using Quine, is it somehow using the network to access your main repo, or are the repos copied? What's the relationship between the access and the data?
Like I said, I don't remember what services it supports, but I believe it can save and sync with a couple of cloud services, like maybe Google Drive or Git or something.
Okay.
Or you can store it locally on your device.
And let's see. I'm looking to see if there's a Quine for Android. I don't see it yet.
Yeah, I think there might be a different.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that Tiddly is the equivalent, but obviously it's a different app. The first one, Tiddly, yeah. I've never used TiddlyWiki on Android, so I'm not sure. As you can see, there's a lot of savers, so you're not going to find anyone who's used all of them or knows about all of them.
Got it. All right. So, so now I have a Tiddly set up. Now, what are some things that maybe we can do with it?
Sure. You could start with just creating a new tiddler if you want to take notes on something, or you can just fill in sample stuff.
And how would I do that?
The little plus button there, or you can press Alt-N.
Yeah, so this is a good time for me to say, if you're looking for an idea. So, and Franco, you mentioned, project. So it's project 1. There we go.
Oh, what do you? Oh, is this a project, or
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
We can make it a project. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the difference between what I just did, which is creating a new tiddler, and creating a new project?
Oh, so a project isn't a thing in TiddlyWiki. Like every kind of node is a tiddler. So it's kind of up to you how you decide to classify the tiddlers. And there are a couple different ways we can do that, which we can talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I use the 3x5 card. You just open a new 3x5 card and you're going to call it project 1.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's good.
All right.
So yeah, in that box you have wiki text editor. So it's kind of like Markdown. It's a different syntax, but it's roughly the same idea. It's way more powerful because you can include all sorts of dynamic stuff in it, as well as just formatting. But your editor toolbar is going to include all the basic stuff in terms of bold, italics, links, and so on.
Okay. So if it's a little different than Markdown, maybe we can go over like the first 2 or 3 maybe major differences that would make it interesting or more powerful to people who are familiar with Markdown.
Sure. In terms of differences, like bold instead of 2 asterisks is 2 single quotes. So it's just differences of exactly what characters you would use. Now, if you want to press Alt-P for preview, or click the second from the right button on the toolbar in the bottom row, you'll get a live side-by-side preview there.
Second from the right in the bottom row, little eyeball.
Yep. Yeah, it's just hard to tell it's an eyeball when it's closed. So.
Gotcha.
Let's let's hold off on some of the dynamic stuff because it's going to be hard to show what it does with only one tiddler. But we'll come back to that. So at the bottom there, I noticed you're hovering over that. The type you're typically not going to edit manually in most cases, but that's you could also embed like an image or a PDF, or there's an add-on that lets it read Markdown directly if you have some stuff that you want to import. The downside of that is you're not going to have some of those wiki text features. You can do links, and I believe you can now do math markup in there, or maybe that's only in the pre-release. But you do have the option to do that. Most of the time, this is just going to be the basic wiki text, and you don't need to touch it. Under that, there's fields which you can add. So actually, the tiddler is entirely made up of different fields. The title that you put in is the title field, and the text that you put in is the text field. But we can add as many of these as we want. So if we want to add arbitrary metadata to it, like maybe we have a project ID and an issue tracker. We could type in project ID there and then fill the ID in the box.
Nice.
And currently you're limited to lowercase, hyphens, periods, and underscores. But in the pre-release, which is coming out soon, all those character limitations are removed.
Gotcha.
Another thing you might want to do is add tags. So tags and fields kind of overlap a little bit in terms of functionality. So the tags are a field, but you can add as many tags as you want. Tags are a great way to get started if you're not sure exactly how much metadata you need. They're certainly easier to add and set up than fields. You can always move them over to fields later if you want to be more precise about what exactly is in there. But I can't, yeah, you put in tutorial, you could put in project too. If we're going to say this is a project, you might have some other projects.
Yep.
And the odd thing about tags is they're actually tiddlers. So if you want to click the checkbox in the upper right here to save that tiddler that you did, and then click on one of those tags, you'll see a little drop down of underneath, there will be all of the tiddlers that have that tag, and on top will be the tag tiddler itself. So if you click on that one, project, you can see, let's edit this one. You can see that it doesn't exist, so it's going to say missing, but we'll have the opportunity to create it. And then here, you could type in, for instance, the description of what a project is in this system.
Okay. So what is a project in this system?
That's really up to you.
Yeah.
You could just as easily call the project, tablespoonful or something. It would be exactly the same to TiddlyWiki. It's everything is kind of what you make of it. So that's one of the challenges of TiddlyWiki, is that you have to figure out exactly what you're trying to do and how to make it do that. Obviously, the benefit though is you can make it exactly match your workflow however you want to.
And is a tiddly, is the plural of tiddlies tiddlies or tiddly?
Tiddlers, I would say, yeah.
Tiddlers, okay. All right. And then, I'm assuming that do we want to add any types, or is that redundant?
At this point, yeah.
Okay, so save this. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So if you scroll back up to your other tiddler and click on that project tag again, you should see that now previously it was in italics and now it's not. So anything in italics is just missing. And once you've created it, then it will turn bold. And the same thing works for links, which we haven't had occasion to make any links yet, but it works exactly the same way there. In some ways, a tag just kind of is a special kind of link to a different tiddler. And you can think of it as kind of expressing membership or hierarchy. So, we've tagged project one with project. So we've kind of got, here's our project tiddler, and then we've got a series of projects underneath it. In fact, let's go ahead and make a second project just so we can see how that works. So if you want to click, you can do a new one, or you can also click the down arrow in the upper right of project one and choose clone. And that'll kind of start you off with everything that you had in project one.
Nice.
Okay.
And maybe we'll call this something to link to.
Sure. We could make it like maybe a to-do associated with your project, or some notes, or a meeting or something like that.
One to-do or a list of to-dos?
Let's make it one. So in general in TiddlyWiki, if you're not sure whether something should be one tiddler or lots of tiddlers, you probably lean on the side of lots of tiddlers, because just like index cards, once you have lots of them, you can resort them and link to individual ones and do all sorts of cool stuff with them. Obviously, it's a little more work to create, but there are ways that you can make that easier.
So now, would this be a tag to do, or would this be a type to do?
So the type is like a file type on a computer. So like, you know, Word document or a JPEG or something. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
If you say, you know, this is a to-do type of tiddler, that's probably a tag or possibly a field.
Yeah, I think like Franco, if you call this project 2, it'd probably be more what we're trying to take a look at for, you know, you had a project tiddler, now you're cloning that. So this is, yeah, exactly right. So it's a simple way to just start another one. And the nice thing is now we'll have multiple ones. So now we can see the power of the tag and we can see some other items. Yeah. And Soren, this is another interesting thing too. Over on the right-hand side now in this kind of like template from the basic download when you install this, it's on the right-hand side, you've got a little bit of nav over there with the open recent tools and more. And I guess they just throw that in by default. But
Yes.
if I want to start like creating my own index on the right-hand side, so if I wanted, rather than having to think about how I'm going to, you know, select a tag, which maybe it just works from the little search bar, but you know, how would I create like a projects tab?
Sure, we can look at that a little bit later. It's not hard at all.
Got it. Got it.
So are we good with project 2? Should I save it at this point?
Yep, I think that's good. So if you click on one of the project tags now, you should be able to see both of them there, obviously.
Yes.
That's kind of the point of having the tag. Another thing, if you don't happen to have a tiddler open that's got that tag on it, if you go to the More tab in the sidebar and then tags underneath that.
Is this the more tag?
No, sorry, in the sidebar, which right now the way you have it configured is taking up more than half the screen, but that's the sidebar. The whole gray part is the sidebar.
Okay. Oh, I see. I found it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you'll have a list of all the tags that are used in your wiki.
Got it. Nice.
And those work the same way. If you click on it, you can open any of the items within it. Let's since you wanted to see more of some of the dynamic stuff you can do, let's add to our project tag tiddler a list of all the projects you have open. So let's go ahead and edit that project. And at the bottom of the text, let's leave a new line and then double open angle bracket or less than sign, list hyphen links, and then space, open double quotation mark, open left square bracket. When you say it out loud, it sounds way more complicated than it is. Tag, left square bracket, project, all lowercase to match your title there. And then 2 closing square brackets, closing quotation mark, 2 closing angle brackets. That looks good.
Okay. Oh,
and so when you do that, you can see, ta-da, there's our projects. So the tag project is called a filter. We can get almost arbitrarily complex with those. They're very much like formulas in a spreadsheet. So they let you inspect the tiddlers you've got and then also do more complicated stuff with the titles of them. So you know, if you want to add a suffix to each of the titles to figure out what a related tiddler should be called, you can do that. You can do math. You can do all sorts of stuff like that. But this one's really simple. We're just collecting all the tiddlers with a particular tag on it.
Is the list links a name or does it have some sort of functionality?
The list links with the double angle brackets, we're calling a macro. So you can write your own macros and there's some built into TiddlyWiki already. So that's a pretty common way to access functionality in plugins and in the core.
So list links is that a macro that a pre-existing macro, or did we just sort of create it?
It's pre-existing. Yep. So we're just calling the one that's built into the core. If you want, we can go find list links in the core if you're feeling adventurous.
Sure. Maybe we can do a to-do list of things we want to do. that would be actually be a good use of this.
Sure.
Like yeah. So
Let's change one of our projects then to like learn about TiddlyWiki or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
create some to-dos under that.
So project.
That's kind of neat because you could like, that's interesting. You could call that project directory and all of a sudden you've got a quick thing to see all your project names. And,
Yep.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about what as a to-do. I know that we were talking about fission. And what was the other one that we were just talking about?
Well, I was gonna say let's first rename this project to like learn TiddlyWiki or something. That's a big project, but
Okay.
so we can start by just doing a bulleted list in the text of here. More flexible way would be creating additional tiddlers, but let's start with just putting it out here. This is actually a kind of nice workflow, is just drop stuff into the tiddler and then later you can extract it if you want.
Okay.
See the list links macro definition.
Anything else? Requests?
Talk about. We mentioned adding a projects tab to the sidebar. And maybe an interlude here, if before you do anything else, you look back down to that project tiddler at the very bottom of the screen, you'll notice there's now a draft of project 2. So it's just kind of good to know this is how that works when you're editing a tiddler, is it actually creates a new one called the draft tiddler. And then when you click that checkbox, then it will replace the original one with your new one. So that just kind of avoids you possibly losing data if it, you lose your connection to the network or something while you're working on it.
I see. Also, if I hit the X button, I'm assuming the draft of project 2 would disappear and I would still have my old data.
You'd still have your old version. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Let's go ahead and
Right.
let's also save the wiki while we're thinking about it, since we don't have autosave right now.
Okay, so I'll save this. Save this. It's like automatic version control.
Yep. Yeah, it actually is kind of cool with that. And even if you're using a saver that does autosave, like say Tiddly Desktop, typically it will keep some old versions around for you to maintain that.
Just a quick question, maybe this is a bit of a segue, but I'm very curious. What stack is this built on? Like is there a framework underneath? Is it vanilla JavaScript? Is it a Node server? I'm assuming there's a Node server.
It's basically vanilla JavaScript. It's built on Node and then kind of exported into a single HTML file as a package.
Okay.
So it natively runs on Node, but then it has the ability to create this single HTML file package, which is probably used more often that way.
So what we did was we downloaded an HTML. I imagine in there's some sort of a tag bringing in the source code, right? Which is everything we're seeing. Is that how it works?
Well, it's all embedded within the file, so like you don't need an internet connection or anything for it.
Oh wow! Oh cool.
Yeah, you can just take the file and email it to somebody and they can open it. So
that's
yeah.
so cool. All right, really neat.
Yeah.
And it's it's a somewhat larger file, a couple megabytes empty, but a lot of work is done to keep that size down since it is moving around all the time.
Sure. All right.
Okay, so where were we on the projects? We did that. Does anyone have an opinion on what direction we should go next?
Well, we were talking about when you start making a list, you can do that in a Tiddly, and then you want to maybe break it apart. So maybe we can do that.
Sure. So let's open our Learn TiddlyWiki project.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do is highlight one of those items, but probably without the asterisk, because we probably don't want it to be a list item within the tiddler. And then we can hit Control E, or there's a button on the toolbar for X size. I believe it is the very leftmost one in the second row.
Yes, X size. And
so then we can type in the title of our new tiddler. So, in this case, it's maybe not the best example because we probably really want the title to be the tiddler, but, And so if you want, you can tag the new tiddler with the title of this tiddler. That might be a fairly sensible thing to do in this case, to tag our to-dos with the project. So let's go ahead and check that. We might also want to do it with a field, but tag is a great way to get started. And you'll see that dropdown has the option link, transclusion, or macro. In this case, we're going to get rid of it eventually anyway, but so it doesn't really matter what we pick. Let's pick link for this one. And then we'll click on perform excision. And you'll see that it's going to replace that with your transclusion there. So you can see that the preview hasn't actually changed because we're actually transcluding the text from that tiddler directly, or sorry, this is a link. So the preview has changed. It's now linking to that one. If you want to click on it, we'll do transclusion for the second one.
Okay.
You can see that we now have a new tiddler here, and it's tagged with the name of our project.
Got it.
So let's go back and do the other two so we can get it all in the same. Perfect. I think you have a draft open maybe because that one's not got the, there we go. Yeah, if you edit it again, it does the same thing. So yeah, let's do the other two as well.
All right. So, yeah.
Let's do transclusion for these just so we can see how it works.
All right. And this one's gonna sorry. List links macro definition. Yep. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Do a transclusion.
Yep. So in this case, you can see we're using the curly braces instead of the square brackets. And so we're just actually taking the text of that tiddler and displaying it right here.
I see that there's curly brackets, but I'm not clear what the result was in the preview. Is there a difference in behavior or what's changed?
There isn't, except that now if we go change the tiddler that we created for the explore list links macro definition, the text will also change here in the preview. So yeah, let's change the text to something else. And since this is a draft, we won't see it right away, but as soon as we save, we should see it change down there. There you go.
I see.
Okay. So transclusion kind of lets us pull the text of multiple tiddlers out and display them in one other tiddler. And fun fact here, the entire interface of TiddlyWiki is actually created by transcluding tiddlers through multiple layers. So there's the top level page template, and that transcludes a bunch of other templates, which transclude a bunch of other templates, including eventually the tiddlers that you currently have open.
Wow.
Got it. Well, a few primitives, less to learn, right? That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just pull out the third one too.
All right. Do you want to do a link or a transclusion?
I don't care because after this, we're going to delete the text directly from there and we're going to do it with a filter instead.
Gotcha. Okay. So would a macro be?
Let's not do that one. That does some other weird stuff to create the macro definition.
No worries.
I'm not sure I've ever actually used that. It's more useful if you're doing like system programming kind of stuff in there.
All right.
All right. So we've got those three now. Let's do a list links in here now so that we can pull those out dynamically.
Okay. So here we go. What do we do? Is it the same thing, tag or what?
Yeah, let's do the same thing, but we'll make it learn obviously the title of this tiddler instead of the other one. So we'll learn TiddlyWiki.
So tag, so it means spaces, right?
Well, make sure that it's exactly the same as the title of this tiddler, including case. You might even just copy and paste it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. All right.
And I think you're missing a quotation mark.
I am probably right here.
And you're also missing a closing square bracket. That's really easy to miss because it looks balanced, but it's not. There you go. All right, so now we can delete the manually inserted ones because we've just got the list there.
Oh, because all of them have the tag.
Correct.
Added.
So just to see kind of how this can work, let's go ahead and save this, and then let's add a new one. So we could do it manually, or we can click the little down arrow on the Learn TiddlyWiki tiddler and choose add, what's it called? New here. Doesn't have the word add in it, just new here, second from the top. And so that's just going to create a new tiddler tagged with the current tiddler's name. So if we fill this out with another to-do item, I don't know what we might want to call it, but anybody have something else that we should do or look at?
I mean, maybe a markdown import.
Okay, so yeah, we can call it importing, whatever.
Save it.
So if we do this now, then we should see that it immediately shows up on that list. Might have to, yeah. That's, there we go. So what was I gonna say? Oh, one thing that we might want to do now at this point is kind of pull it up one level. So right now this works for the Learn TiddlyWiki project, but what about our other projects? If we've decided that our solution for the project is we want to store the to-do items as tiddlers tagged with the title of the project, we probably don't want to have to copy and paste that onto every project, or at least it would be nice if we could avoid that, right? So this is where we can use a template like we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
So let's see if we can do that. So let's edit the Learn TiddlyWiki again.
All right.
And anytime I'm doing a template, I always try to like to try to get it working directly within the single tiddler before I actually make it into a template, just to make sure that everything is really working one step at a time. So if something goes wrong, I know what's wrong with it. So the thing that we're going to have to change in this one is we're going to need to not have that Learn TiddlyWiki name hard-coded in it, because otherwise when we display it on every project, we're just going to always get the same set of tasks for the Learn TiddlyWiki project. So if we replace the inner brackets, Learn TiddlyWiki in your filter down there, we're going to replace it with a single left angle bracket, current tiddler, where the current is lowercase and the T in tiddler is capitalized.
Okay. And then tiddler is, so it's camel case? Like that?
Yeah, yep. And then change that closing square bracket immediately after that to a closing angle bracket. There you go.
Now, it's uneven. Is there something else we have to do? Or?
No, yeah, sorry. The square bracket after tag shouldn't be there at all. We're actually replacing the square brackets with angle brackets. Nope, not that one.
I see.
That one was right.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Okay.
There we go. Now this isn't displaying because we currently have a draft tiddler open. So if you save this, it should show up again. And that's because the title of this tiddler is actually draft of Learn TiddlyWiki and not Learn TiddlyWiki.
Got it.
There are ways we can make it display on the preview if you really care, but that's probably more complicated than we need right now. So this is still working, and it should work on every project. So, one thing we could try if we wanted to is we could just copy and paste it manually to project one and see that it still works. Do you want to do that, or should we just skip that step?
Well, I have a question. So
yes,
when we replaced there, when we said current tiddler, I'm assuming that is kind of like a symbolic link to the current tiddler that value points to this tiddler in all tiddlers. Is that like a magic word, a keyword?
So it is actually a variable, which is basically the same thing as a macro. So it's not a coincidence that the list links and that current tiddler both use the angle brackets. So the angle brackets are retrieving the value of a variable or a macro. And current tiddler is just a kind of really special variable in TiddlyWiki because it gets set by a lot of things that don't necessarily look like they have to do with setting a variable. Right. So generally, when you're within the Learn TiddlyWiki tiddler displayed here in the story river on the left, the current tiddler is going to be set to Learn TiddlyWiki. It is possible to change that temporarily within that tiddler. For instance, when we did that transclusion, when you do a transclusion, actually the current tiddler changes for the duration of that transclusion. So there's a lot of different things that can change it. But we're starting with, yes, we're getting a variable that says what tiddler are we currently displaying this within.
All right. So what's
Soren,
next?
question. At any time, if you want to close a tiddler with the X, it did nothing more than just, it's basically just taking it off the screen. Everything.
Correct. Yeah, you're still going to find it in your all or recent section of the sidebar there if you close it.
Gotcha. Okay. So
If you want to clean up, you should feel free.
yeah, let's do this. I see. So then,
Neat. Very nice.
So I think now would be a good time to maybe do some quick review.
Yeah, sure.
So what have we covered so far? If we hit the plus, we just covered, what is this? What's that variable called inside the learn Tiddly? What's that called?
Current tiddler.
Yeah, templates.
Oh,
That's something. Yeah. That's
we haven't quite finished with the template part yet. If you,
Oh, okay.
we wouldn't have to do it now, but
All right. So maybe template variable. Just to say that we did it.
Tiddler variable maybe would be.
What is it? Say again.
Current tiddler variable.
Are template and clone kind of related?
Not really. So the kind of template we're talking about is a tiddler that's being used to affect the display of another tiddler.
I see.
There are, however, just to be confusing, there are places in TiddlyWiki where the word template is also used for copying something. I try to avoid that usage when I can because I think it's confusing for exactly that reason.
Makes sense.
So if we want to finish making this into a template, what we're going to need to do is extract that list links bit out into another tiddler. So we can do that just like we did for those to-do items.
Here.
Yep. And let's call it maybe project template since it's going to show up on all the projects. And then we'll, you can uncheck that tag with the title. We don't want it to be tagged on TiddlyWiki. And again, that one doesn't matter because we're just going to get rid of it here. And let's click on project template before you delete the text because we'll need it open for the next step.
And do I edit it or?
Go ahead and edit it. And what we're going to need to do is add it to the view template. So this is used every time we display a tiddler. So in your tag name, in your tag name field, we have to add a special tag. Do $:// tags / and then camel case, but with the first letter capitalized view template. Perfect. All right, go ahead and save that.
Oh. Okay.
So let's save that tiddler. And let's save the learn TiddlyWiki too. So you can see that now that showed up on learn TiddlyWiki. And if we open up project 1, we should see it there too. Why are we not seeing it there? Oh, we don't have anything tagged with project 1. Let's create something tagged with project 1 so we can see it. No, let's not look at that one yet. Okay. Sorry, that one will really muck things up. Let's create a new tiddler and put it there.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning to have you open that one yet because there's something we need to fix on it.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah, let's tag it project 1.
And it's project -1 or?
No, exactly the same name as the actual tiddler, because a tag is just a reference to another tiddler.
Okay.
So it'll be that just project 1 with a capitalized project. Yep.
So that actually begs the question. Let's say that we've got some hierarchies, like hierarchies where let's say that you've got a social media campaign, right? And it would be social media campaign 1, and then it might be like ad 1. So there would be multiple ad 1s. Is there an issue with giving tiddlers the same name with different relations? Would that cause some sort of conflict, or how do you handle that?
You can't have 2 tiddlers with the same name. What you can do is, if you want them to display differently or the same in a list, you can give them different titles, and you can fill out the caption field to something else. Most of the built-in display tools in TiddlyWiki, for instance, for a table of contents, will look in that caption field, and if there is one, it will show that instead of the title. So that would be kind of how you could maintain that hierarchy, even though the tiddlers actually have different names.
So the titles themselves are IDs as far as the systems.
They are, yes. Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. So anything?
No, I don't think we need to put anything in it. In fact, you can already see down there in project 1 that now it showed up. Do you see that we've got the draft?
Oh, the draft. The draft.
Yep.
Yes.
If you save it, it'll change to the actual title. There you go.
Okay. Cool.
So the one thing I was alluding to on project is, you can see now that's in there twice.
Yeah.
So what we actually did in our project template was we made that show up on every tiddler, whereas we probably only wanted to show up on the project tiddlers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're talking about here, right? The double?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason that's happening is that we made the listing of everything with that tag show up on every tiddler instead of just the project ones.
Okay.
So if we want to edit our project template,
let's see.
Yep. And let's, above that list links bit,
Yes.
we're going to put in a widget. So this works exactly like an HTML tag, for anyone familiar with HTML, except there's a $sign before the name of the tag. So it's going to be $list. Or yeah, angle bracket $list.
Oh. Okay.
Space, filter equals, open quotation mark, open square bracket, tag, open square bracket, project, close, close everything. Yeah. I missed a step before the tag. We need to put all open square bracket current.
So after the
opening square bracket before the word tag.
Okay. Let me put all
I'll explain this in a second.
current or dash current?
All square bracket current. So it's working exactly like the tag project step, but it's a different operator. And then after the list links, let's do a closing list tag.
Okay, is that a
no space in between them.
okay? So these are all and tag are sequential. They are not nested, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'll explain that more in a second once we get this working.
No worries.
So yep. After here, we just want to close our list. So /$list. Okay, and let's save that just to confirm that it worked. We should see that it stays on the Learn TiddlyWiki in the project 1, but it's no longer on that project tiddler. Perfect. There's only one on project. So does that make sense in principle?
In principle, it makes sense.
Cool.
I think I have to go through it because I like my bandwidth is limited when I'm typing. It takes away from my understanding bandwidth. Yeah. So
sure.
Look,
if you want to open the project template, edit the project template one more time briefly. Sorry, not that one, the project template. Yeah.
So let me see what's going on in here.
Yeah, I just want to show what's going on. So with the list, we're kind of using list in a way that's not really listing. We're using it. So the list works kind of like a loop in a programming language. It's going to, for every item in the filter, it's going to display the contents of the widget once. So in this case, we're using that all current filter step. And that is equivalent to basically equivalent to the current tiddler. It's retrieving the value of the current tiddler. So there's only ever going to be one of them. So we know either this loop is going to happen once or not at all. So we're basically using it to control whether the stuff inside of it displays once or never. So the filter works kind of like a pipeline. It's a series of steps. So our first step in this case is all current. So the only thing that we're going to consider in this filter is the current tiddler, unlike in our other ones where we considered every tiddler in the wiki. So, in our tag project, we were looking for, hey, filter the list of all the tiddlers in the wiki, so we see only the ones that are projects. In this one, we first say only the current tiddler, and then which tiddlers of the single tiddler we have are tagged project. So in essence, what we're doing is saying, is this tiddler tagged project? And so that causes then that list links to only appear on the current tiddler if it's tagged project.
Okay, so before it was appearing twice, right? And it was appearing twice in.
And now it's appearing once because we have that actually hard coded in the text of that tiddler. If you look at it.
In this one here, in the project tiddler.
So this was the very first list links that we put in there. So
okay.
It's just a coincidence that it's exactly the same list.
Okay, so I'm a little confused as to what we've achieved with the project template. What is it actually doing? Maybe you could walk me through and explain. I see Learn TiddlyWiki down here, and I see project one. I don't know. I don't really understand what we've done.
Sure.
I kind of lost the thread somewhere here. Yeah.
We start by closing out that tag with project one and the project tiddlers, just so that we have a little less to clutter up for us.
Okay.
Let's close that current tiddler variable one too.
Okay.
So we've got our two projects, which are the project one and the Learn TiddlyWiki. Those are the two things tagged with project.
Yes.
And so what we're doing with a project template is we're saying, here's some content that we want to display on every project.
Okay.
So if you open the project template, let's add something other than that list, because maybe that's part of the confusion. So let's put up before that, let's just write current tasks, maybe colon.
Right in between here like this?
No, at the very beginning. Or no, sorry, it should be between. Never mind. Yeah, we want it within the list or it's going to show up everywhere. And I think you will need a blank line between them. So just like Markdown, you need a blank line to indicate where a paragraph ends.
Maybe 2 spaces. Is this enough? Or?
Yep, that's fine. Yeah.
Say that.
You're never going to see anything sensible in the preview on a template because it's designed to only work when it's showing up somewhere. So there you can see that this current tasks bit just shows up on every project. And if we were to create a new project, it would immediately show up there as well.
Okay, so let me see if I understand. Basically, what that little piece of code is doing is it's saying everything that's tagged with this current tiddler's name is going to appear in this list.
Exactly. Yep.
Got it. Now I understand.
And that list will automatically display on everything that's tagged project.
That list, yes, because let's see, the project template is, and this filter here says anything that's tagged project, this little piece of code will apply and run. Is that about right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So this is actually the TiddlyWiki actually trying to apply this template on every tiddler, but only the ones that are not tagged project, it won't show anything because it's all within that list.
Oh, so basically every tiddler, when it runs, it's going to say all current. So that's going to hit every tiddler, right? Because
it's going to hit only the tiddler that's currently being displayed.
Right. But every tiddler, when it gets displayed, that will run.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
And then
after, tag.
Right. And then after that, it'll say, does this tiddler have a project tag? And if it does, then this code will run.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I get it.
And so one more thing that might help if you accept that. And then click on your tags view template tag. So this is just a tag like any other tag. It just has a kind of funny name.
Okay, where is that tag?
Right, it's on your project template. We tagged it with that.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So you can see here, this is a list of all the things that it displays for every tiddler. So there's title, there's an unfold bar, there's a subtitle, there's the tags, there's the body, and so on and so forth. And at the end, you can see we've got our project template there.
Interesting.
And you can actually drag and drop this to reorder it. So let's suppose we want the current task to show up before any text in the project. So let's just drag and drop that so that it's above the body one.
I see. Like so.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And you can see that in project one, it now rearranged so it appears above the text.
Interesting.
So you'll see that kind of design all the way through TiddlyWiki, where the interface is determined by a series of different tiddlers that show up, and you can just kind of slip your own ones in there in order to add your own interface elements wherever they make sense for your wiki.
Yeah, you can see the power of this, but you can also see the complexity. Like,
Yes.
right, getting into it is non-trivial. At least so far, there's a lot of concepts that I've had to absorb. In the
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, setting up something like this is pretty simple, but if you don't understand all the pieces, it's kind of challenging to know where to start. So
yeah, it's pretty simple once you have all the concepts
Right.
properly sorted in your head.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And they're in there enough that you don't forget them next time you come in. All right, this is great. Let's
A few general questions, Soren. I just want to get your opinion on a couple of things. The configuration I'm using right now is basically I just continue to download an updated file to my desktop, the HTML file, and I open it up when I want to use it. I just drag it in, and either just click on it or drag it in a browser. But what about and I guess this gets into why some people are hosting and doing other things. I'm just thinking about the scalability, size, performance, and start to get really, you get a more ambitious use. Where do you start running into issues?
I would say the main thing that causes issues in terms of scalability is embedding other files within your wiki. So if you're copying in a lot of images or PDFs or something like that, that can be a problem. Yeah. And there is this thing called canonical URI, which is a special field that you can add to your tiddler. And so that will let you actually store those files outside of your wiki, like in a separate folder next to it, but still have them appear like they're tiddlers within the wiki. So you can't edit them directly within the wiki, but they'll still show up and you can link to them and transclude them and everything like that. So that is one good option if you want to keep the single file. Moving to Node.js also does help, because then you're getting a single file for every tiddler rather than everything embedded in one file. So that at least prevents the file size from growing out of control. Nevertheless, unless you turn on lazy loading, which is a server feature that you can play with if you like, all of that's still going to be delivered to your browser when you load it. So if you're over the local network, that's not a big deal. If you're over the internet and you're trying to download 300 megabytes of stuff before you start, that can still be a problem. One really cool thing that's happening right now, as we saw on the community call earlier this week, I guess it was, is that file upload plugin, which is going to make it possible to essentially extract those pieces and swap in that canonical URI automatically. In terms of text, in order to get to a large amount, large enough to cause scalability problems, would probably take you years. And by that time, we're probably going to be doing something else anyway. So we'll probably still have TiddlyWiki in a few years, but who knows, it might be hosted in a completely different way on technology that doesn't exist yet. So it doesn't make too much sense to worry about that right now.
Have you seen anybody have this in an environment where there's collaboration?
That is a thing that's still pretty hard. There is a plugin called Bob, which you might look into if you're interested in that. It's kind of alpha-ish. I don't know what formal status it's in. It has some problems sometimes, but that does have the ability to connect multiple clients to it and sync back and forth easily. The challenge if you connect multiple people to the standard Node.js server is it can take a while for a tiddler to sync back to other clients, and there's no locking. So you can end up overwriting the same file at the same time. The other challenge with that one is if you modify the file system directly, like you just open one of the tiddlers in a text editor and mess with it, it does not rescan the file system for those changes. It assumes it's the only one editing it. So if you edit something outside of there, you have to terminate the server and start it again, which is kind of annoying. Bob also fixes that, so it will continue scanning the file system repeatedly.
I gotta meet this Bob guy. He sounds pretty smart.
I forget who does that plugin. I can't remember. It's somebody you probably know the name of already, but I can't remember.
Interesting.
So it's going close to an hour of this recording. So I want to sort of check in with you guys because we've covered quite a bit. And there's still things in the to-do list. Like we haven't even started really the to-do list. So I don't know that it would make sense to try, but I would offer something, maybe for the sake of modularity. I think we've gone through a lot of things that a person who's new to it might find very interesting. And we've sort of hinted at the power of the software. Yeah. I have the Tiddly Wiki that we created. Would it make sense maybe if I upload it somewhere? And if people want to, download it again and continue down the to-do list, or maybe we can do another video at some point in the future and continue down the to-do list. That might, be the makings of a series, and people can chime in on the forums, and we can add things depending on the demand. Does that sound like a?
Sounds like a good plan to me. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, is there anything on this call that anybody else wants to ask about, or maybe include? Anthony's got some stuff I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a bit more granular, and it's just more detail, and I don't think it's the right form. Probably a separate one to deal with some of the things I'm looking at. So I'll save it for later.
Well, Anthony, do you want to maybe put it into the same thread in discourse, and we can have that conversation? Because that way you can, let people know what you want to learn about, and somebody who's skilled in that might be able to help you out, and maybe
I'll figure that out. I just think I've burned enough time, and it's been very helpful to kind of get at a few general things here. So I'm good right now.
Okay. All right, Soren, thank you very much for all your help and your generosity with your time and knowledge. Is there anything else you think we should know before we sign off? Or?
I don't think so. I mean, there's plenty more stuff that I could say, but we talked about there are better ways to organize that. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that we left open from that demo. So we have a basic layout of projects and stuff. There's plenty more stuff that we can do with that, including adding other kinds of information, but besides projects and tasks and whatnot. But I'll let you drive on what you want to see in future videos or meetings, whatever we want to call them.
What's the best way to get the Tiddly that I have, this HTML Tiddly, into the hands of other people?
If you just save it and you attach it anywhere, that should do it.
So like in the discourse, I can just put it into the thread, and people.
Yeah, I assume you can attach files in discourse. It'd be kind of weird if you couldn't. I haven't done it yet.
All right. So I guess what I'll do is I'll process this recording, and then I'll try to upload it to. Is there an uploaded video sharing site that people prefer, or is YouTube? What is there a thing?
Fine with me.
Okay. So I'll put a YouTube link in the discussion so that people can see the result of what we did today. And then we can, and I'll put a link to, I'll upload the file, and we can take it from there and see, what people express as their needs, and maybe we can adapt to that as we go. Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks so much, guys. This is great. I really appreciate it. And thank you for understanding today and in your patience with my technical problems at the beginning.
No worries.
No problem.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.